Hi, my name is Edward Balarjan, and I am the writer and director of Infinite Worlds. And you are right now listening to my director's commentary for this movie. This was my second film that I made for PSTV for Plastic State Television after my first series, The Pitch, that I made in spring of 2022. I initially came up with the idea of this movie in late 2022, right when I was signed up to take TV station management a second time because I loved doing it so much the first time, and I thought it would be a very ambitious idea for my last semester to make a movie, or at least a movie by PSTV standards, to make something that was a much more ambitious project than have a bunch of actors just in the studio sitting in front of the desk and with the blue curtain backdrop. That to make a movie with the concept of the multiverse. And the multiverse was a concept that I always wanted to explore and try out in college, especially after learning more things like in After Effects and doing more ambitious kinds of visual effects of what I know how to do, especially with recently, a lot more multiverse films have been popping up using the concept, and a big inspiration for this movie was, of course, the Daniels film, Everything Everywhere All at Once, was one of my favorite movies of last year, and that a film with such an ambitious story, but also at its core has a very powerful message about family and mixes all these different genres together in a way that it should not work as well as it does, but it really does, that I can just laugh, almost cry, and feel inspired to write every time I watch it. And another personal thing for me, that this was very personal for me because I made this in my last semester at SUNY Plattsburgh, and that feeling of that stress and pressure as an about-to-be college graduate is always something that's on every graduate's mind of okay, what do I do with my life now? Because that is a lot of things are just kind of racking around in your head of how are you going to move out? How are you going to find that first job that'll get you into where you want to go? And that is kind of what I want to explore at its core with that concept of the multiverse, and why its main character, Peter Grayson, was going through some of the similar struggles that I have throughout my last semester. And here in this scene, this was one of my appearances in the film. My first character that I play is Dr. Theodore Clawthorne, one of Peter's professors, his post-graduation professor. I thought it would be funny because I always like doing different voices when I play characters that voice acting is another career that I also would love to do and want to be in. And I thought it would be funny for Dr. Clawthorne to do a Benoit Blanc southern accent, to do that southern deep-fried Kentucky foghorn leg cold drawl would just be very funny to do. Not much else to it. And so right here in this part, also another thing is with finding jobs is trying to get back to people. And the recruiting agent on the phone, one of my good friends in college was Cameron Kircher, and he has since graduated way before I did. But I pretty much reached out to him on Twitter, just hey, I'm doing this movie, do you want to make a cameo? And he was able to send me back different recordings of his lines, and it was really great to put him into a project, to have him do a nice little cameo, a nice little callback, which was very nice of him to do. And now this scene, we did not get to shoot in an actual movie theater. I used one of the big lecture halls, and one of the big halls. The hall that I'm in the most in for classes at Plattsburgh was the Yoakum Hall, pretty much the communications hall. They have these big lecture halls that kind of sort of pass by for theater. And he had another cameo here from Nick Benardot, one of the crew members for PSTV this past semester. Pretty much my right-hand person during while making this movie on set, that he would always be behind the camera with me in terms of showing up to my field shoots and making this. And also, it was also fun for him to add because he plays another one of Peter's professors, Professor Chambers, as a nod to my PSTV professor John Chambers, to kind of do like a funny little, not to say professor, it's not Professor Chambers, it's Professor Chambers.
That's all you have to say.
And it was funny for him to like ad lib on set in terms of like teaching a class, which we'll get into a little bit more in one of the post-credit scenes at the end, which was very funny for him to talk a bit in terms of his knowledge about frogs. And so yeah, that, and now after, and so this scene we shot multiple times in terms of trying to get like the ring to drop in terms of the right placement. And so this shot was another fun challenge in terms of picking it up off of the floor, in terms of getting that following perspective. And this is where things really start to ramp things up, because we pretty much established Peter's conflict before we get into the hook, the multiverse stuff. So yep, there he is. Now, it was very funny to be filming in the green screen studio. I just told Nicholas Alkaby, just like, hey, just fly around like, ah, ah! It was definitely very funny to do. And now here we are at the parallel port, which is the multiversal airport of like that pretty much takes people all across the multiverse. And here we are introduced to Jorge Cabrera, who one of the other managers who plays Daniel, who plays like all of the Daniels. So pretty much the whole idea with him, with this character, was that with his name Daniel, I pretty much made another nod to Everything Everywhere All at Once, that they're all named Daniel as a nod to the directors of that film, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, known collectively as Daniels. That to call them all like the Daniels, that he pretty much plays like all of them in terms of like they all share the same name in one singular entity. Also like a bit of a reference to the Jerrys in Soul, another one of my favorite films. I'm a massive Pixar fan, so I also thought it'd be a funny little Easter egg in terms of like having like this one entity who all collectively share the same name, and then he disappears. And so I pretty much told Nichols in this shot to just run in place, and yep, and now he finally has arrived at a portal, which most of the effects that I pretty much use like different softwares, in terms of playing the backgrounds with like any scenes and shot in the studio on green screen were made in Adobe Illustrator. I'm pretty much use like the Adobe suite and After Effects for the visual effects and animation, and Premiere as my go-to editing software. And here I have another good friend, Harrison Swales, who's been a good friend since I started at Plattsburgh, and also probably a member of my school's film club. He plays the role of Alvin J., who is one of Peter's friends from back in middle and high school. And I thought it'd be funny like to do like an unfortunate name joke because of his name being Alvin, that to kind of make a joke that he would often get yelled at like back then during that time to share the same name as the Chipmunk. That which I thought was like, I thought in my head like, okay, what is like the most groan-inducing reference like that you're just like, in terms of unfortunate naming, and you just might. I was worried, like thinking like, oh God, Edward, really? Are you making an Alvin and the Chipmunks joke of all things? But I don't know. I just thought it would be one of the most like unfortunate name cases. Like I feel bad for anybody who was actually named Al or Alvin during the time of the Chipmunk movies' popularity, that they would just be constantly yelled at. Even though Yeah, and this was another very challenging scene to film because of I had to put like Jorge in like 3 different positions in terms of like to do like each shot individually. So I would be like off camera like reading the other Daniel's lines with the other for each and every shot with Daniel, and also I thought it'd be funny in terms of like jokes of like how some humans of Earth could be stupid in terms of making a joke about how about the elongated muskrat Elon Musk and Twitter are just like, if you could pay $8 for Twitter, you could pay $8 for our food. In terms of it's not really necessary. And here we are introduced to Jeff. I knew during the casting that that John is always really good at like playing like the villain or menacing type roles. He definitely has the range of an actor in terms of like the different PSTV shows that he has appeared in. And his ring tracker, you only see it for a split second, but his ID is 711-420-A113. As kind of like in terms of like funny numbers, and also another common Easter egg that I would see in plenty of movies is A113. And here we are introduced to my second character, Lucifer, the demon therapist, was a character that I created in my video motion graphics class that I took last semester, and I wanted to do another project with him. So pretty much this whole scene, this Universe 666 scene, as I called it, was the scene was pretty much a project within of itself, because I did this entire scene for an animation class that I took, and I thought it would be very fun to do to bring it back in this project. And so pretty much the whole inspiration behind it is that I sometimes like really so with this character, I pretty much imagine him in terms of like who is like a character like you would least expect to be like a therapist in terms of like a demon. So pretty much the way I thought of him in terms of writing him is that I took inspiration from Lucy from Disenchantment and King from The Owl House, especially the latter, because I'm a massive fan of that show. And that you can also tell the inspiration in my voice that I did a slightly pitched up voice. So I pretty much spoke in my normal voice during the recording, but only just pitched it up slightly, just like how Alex Hirsch did in the show. And I wanted to like make it character like you wouldn't expect. Like when you think of demon, you would probably not think of this cute-looking wolf pup to be like a demon. Which was definitely fun to do. That he does not want to be seen as cute. Which, so it was definitely very funny to do in the recording booth to play him, and that I would like when we're doing this scene with Nicholas, like in the green screen, like I would be like in terms of just like off camera reading my lines to try to like get in terms of like genuine like interactions offset that while he may not be in separate shots. And with the animation, I just pretty much used After Effects in terms of using like the puppet tool. I learned a lot in that class in terms of like how to make null objects, especially since I initially designed Lucifer without a face, and I pretty much revealed his face. So pretty much the big challenge was trying to get like a system of how to make mouth movements in terms of making different mouths, and I pretty much figured it out with using like null objects and adding a slider control. And it was, once I figured it out, it was easy from there. And now this scene was another one of my favorite scenes that we shot. The silent film universe was definitely very fun. This scene, we did not have to carry around a boom mic capturing sound because this is a silent film universe. That it was very fun to do in the editing to kind of emulate the style of like old classic early days of cinema by pretty much cropping it into a 4:3 aspect ratio, adding a vignette, putting it in black and white, and adding some noise and grain to get that old look. And it was definitely very fun. Like I wouldn't necessarily call it like a full-on fight scene, but it was just a funny little joke fight that I thought it'd be funny to put in terms of what would a fight be like in a silent film, in terms of like punching, then it cut to a title card saying ouch. And yeah, so this was another very funny thing, was that I did not intentionally do this, but with Michael, who plays Steve, I pretty much put him through like a lot of the craziest, in terms of the worst, like most painful stunts of the movie, in terms of having him slip on a banana and like then pretty much doing that match cut that he in Earth Prime in the normal universe, that he falls on the ground, falls out of bed, in terms of introducing the concept of what if our dreams are windows into the multiverse, which was also another joke that has also kind of been referenced in other multiverse movies, like, say, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, as another big nod to another multiverse movie with, like, the MCU going into multiverses. And it was definitely fun to, like, write, like, the dynamic between Steve and Chris in this scene, and Michael and Lindsay did a very, very fun job in this scene, because Chris was a very fun character to write, because they're very sarcastic, and in terms of like taking things in terms of like a normal, well, in terms of being a little bit more of like a deadpan sense of humor, and Michael is just kind of a bit of a goof in terms of with Steve, that he's pretty much like the best friend, like, to Peter, that he's kind of like the ideal kind that you want to have, that maybe he might not always be like the most like in control, but it's very funny. And then to finish off the silent film bit, that it was very funny to have him just trip over, then cut to the title card of screaming that was another funny thing, and then doing another aspect ratio change into a very muted and dark universe into widescreen ratio for this scene, to properly introduce and meet, have Peter and Jeff finally meet, so Jeff finally knows and figured out where his ring is, and pretty much managed to get Peter into that place. It was definitely very fun, and also like the weather was very great on that day to shoot, that it was appropriately very dark and cloudy. And initially when we filmed the scene with where Jeff, we first properly introduced to him, like, John suggested the idea to not pretty much have Daniel say, "Oh, Jeff," to pretty much change it to say, "Oh, it's you," to make like the buildup of like his name of like who he is that much funnier. So pretty much why did I just name him Jeff? It was not because, like, so pretty much my executive producer, Jeff Koff, another very good friend of mine throughout my time at Plattsburgh, it was not a joke intended directly at him. It was more because of just so I could do this line of pretty much as a joke in reference to 22 Jump Street, when Channing Tatum says, "My name is Jeff," and that, just because it's what's like the goofiest name, like a person who takes themselves so relentlessly seriously, almost like a character out of a Zack Snyder film, to take themselves so relentlessly seriously that they just don't crack a joke. In terms of like, really, and that person's name is Jeff. Like, that it was just like the first name that came to mind. And these scenes, the parallel port scenes, were like among like the last scenes of the movie that we shot because of having to work around Jorge's schedule, because he plays like the three Daniels, and pretty much having him like just acting off in different positions, and now this part was another very fun one, to have John ad-lib off the side, in terms of like how it just doesn't make sense how Daniel just let Peter go, and having the two Daniels talk to each other and like, "Hey, we need to give this guy some help, and if he wants to keep working for us." And so yeah, I can't believe that we are finally made it this close to the end of the film. So it was definitely a very fun, very challenging, but also very deeply rewarding experience to be able to do this movie, and for all the time that I went through for in my 4 years at SUNY Plattsburgh, that this was the culmination of everything that I have done at the school. Of pretty much, I started at PSTV as a crew member in the fall of 2020 during the peak of the pandemic, and to now grow to be a manager, and to now be able to say that I completed PSTV's first made-for-TV movie. And that was also a very funny ad-lib initially, in terms of when Peter runs into the portal both times, was that he pretty much decided to ad-lib before he run in, just like, for the cheeseburgers. Like, because that was not in the script. Like, he pretty much ad-libbed that because, like, I guess he was just like craving cheeseburgers, and it's he pretty much played that back as pretty much in the second time that he ran into the portal in the parallel port, that he finally made it back. And that's pretty much, that's all that matters. That like that's a concept like the multiverse like this is a very overwhelming thing to experience, especially with like all the different universes that I came up with for this movie, and also doing some like fun nods and references to things that I love, with things like the pool noodle arms with Harrison that was another Everything Everywhere nod to the hot dog fingers, and really the whole thing that I wanted to say with this movie is that everything will seem overwhelming when you're like pretty much at the end of a very significant point in your life, like graduating college, that it all seems overwhelming. But really, the truth of the matter is, be confident in yourself, do what you love the most, and that's all that really matters, and be with the people that you love, and yeah, that's what really matters at the end of the day. That even with like all the overwhelming craziness of this world and everything going on in your life, that you matter. You can do it in this universe, and you can do all these great things. And I am very, very proud of everything that I have accomplished at Plattsburgh State TV, and the entire cast and the entire crew. And look at that, we're finally at the credits. And also, so pretty much I also thought it'd be funny to even like write in a couple of post-credit scenes, which were very fun to do. Like, of course, like I had no plans to like make a sequel or make like a franchise out of this, because I'm graduating, but also just kind of have funny little bookends to like certain like elements, and even just like kind of have like a couple little extra jokes in there that would be funny to put in the credits. That it's not supposed to like set up anything new or set up anything major, that I could be doing more like with this universe and with these characters. So the mid-credit scene between Jeff and Lucifer was not part of my animation project. I just thought it'd be just a fun extra little bonus with him to pretty much do another scene with him, that Lucifer's had enough of Jeff's attitude, and that he's making it way more difficult. And I also thought it'd be funny to also, in both of Lucifer's scenes, to put in a Wilhelm scream, like the guy falling in the landscape of hell, and then also when Lucifer tosses aside the demon monster toy that's kind of like a recurring joke prop in the PSTV prop closet that has been used by a lot of people's shows, that that must have like hit a guy, so I put it in another Wilhelm scream in there because it's also like a very funny recurring thing, and a lot of movies do this, and that anytime it happens, it just makes me laugh. It makes me smile because it's just such a funny, goofy scream. And yeah, so now as the second part of the credits rolling, as we see all of the others, and I was always wondering that I just wanted to like leave things open-ended of like what it's up to your audience's interpretation of like what did like happen to Jeff after Lucifer called the big man. You know what? I'm actually gonna call him right now if he has any word.
Hey, Edward, what's up?
Hey, Lucifer, it's Edward. I'm doing the director's commentary of Infinite Worlds, and I need to ask you, what exactly did happen to Jeff after you called in the big man himself?
Oh yeah, Jeff is going through attitude correction therapy, mostly because I had enough of him. I wanted to tell the big man I wanted you to go over there and blow him up, but he didn't want me to do it. He didn't allow it because he thought it'd be too harsh.
Oh, okay, oh, geez, that's kind of brutal, but I'm sure that was definitely better than what you originally told him. But I guess thank you for telling me. Bye.
No problem.
And yeah, that's another disclaimer that I put in, that pretty much with like the recent like events of like how studios are trying to like forcefully try to make AI and like replace writers' jobs, that I wanted to be like genuine. I did not touch AI once. Like everything in this movie was done by myself. And then the second post-credit scene with Professor Chambers, this was a impromptu post-credit scene that I thought would be funny to pretty much have like a little bit of like, so I have a serious mid-credit scene with Jeff and Lucifer, and then like a bit of like a joke post-credit scene in terms of Professor Chambers' homework assignment of how many tentacles does a frog have, when really it's a class that is dolphin biology. And yeah, so thank you all so much for listening and taking your time to listen to my commentary, and I'll see you next time. Bye.